Okay, I'm going to start a follow-up video about the Kant twist clamps. The last video I did on the Kant twist clamp build was a little bit rushed. I had to edit it a lot to try to get it down to under 30 minutes. I don't like to make these videos too long, so I try to keep them under 30 minutes. So I had to chop a bunch of things out. Not sure what I chopped out that was important. Probably not much, actually. So I'm not going to. This is not going to include any CNC work. I've already done the CNC work to cut out the plates for the next clamp. So all I'm going to do is make another clamp, basically. So most of the information in the last video I won't include. The clamp that I made on the last go around was worked out pretty good. Actually, I'm quite happy with it. And so I've got a 2-inch clamp here and the 3-inch clamp. You can see there's quite a difference between the two. Just the 1-inch spread on the jaws makes quite a difference in the size of the clamp. So this new clamp came out quite nice. There was a couple areas that I probably need to explain a little bit better. Number one is the handle, which I didn't include in the last video. So I did put the handle on here, but I'm not real happy with what I did. So I'm going to have to devise some other way to do that. You know, of course, I could make the entire piece and thread it on the lathe, but that way I could turn it all down from a 1/2-inch diameter down to a 1/4. But actually, I like the idea of using the threaded rod. It's much simpler and just making an end to go on it. So I'm thinking that this portion here that the handle goes through needs to be a little bit longer, so I can actually drill through the rod, and so the handle actually goes through the rod too. That way it locks all this portion together. So this works quite well now. I mean, there's never a problem tightening it. I just worry about loosening it because I use permanent Loctite to lock the thread in there. So if that should ever give out, which I doubt it would, I think it will hold quite nicely. But and also what I did is I pointed the end of the threaded rod to go into an indentation in the handle, so the handle can't move either. So that's basically what I did, and so that'll give you an idea. Also, in the last video I didn't make the jaws, so they were very simple to make. I just cut a couple pieces off of a 3/4-inch square steel rod and drilled a hole through the middle of it. I did put a groove in it. You can probably see that. I did put a groove in it there, and that was quite easy too. I have a 90-degree drill mill, so that puts that groove in there quite easily on the mill. But so you could use some different configurations. I think the ones I've seen for sale have a cross groove or a diagonal groove on the larger jaw. So you could do that also if you needed to do that. So anyway, I'm going to build a matching clamp to this one, and I may change the handle configuration a little bit. But other than that, this worked out quite nicely. There was one problem I noticed during the build on this pivot right here, and that pivot should have a double or a step in the shoulder on each side, and that I didn't do that, but it worked out just fine. When I hit it with a ball peen hammer and riveted over the little protrusions on either side, it didn't close up it didn't tighten up the joint, so it worked perfectly. The whole thing is very solid, and it moves quite freely, so I don't have any problems there. So overall, you know, the build came out just fine. I did I think this is a good idea too, actually. What I did was these jaws can be changed, right? They'll be interchangeable. And all I did was turn a little piece with a head on it. So a little enlarged head on one side, and I used a snap retaining ring on this side. And seems to be, I think it'll work just fine. I'm not sure, but we'll see how it goes. I can always change that in the future if I desire. So I'm thinking, you know, I had some pieces, quite a few little scraps left over from the gauge plate that I used. So I'm thinking that I'm going to make one more of the 3-inch clamps, and then I may make several smaller clamps, but I won't do any videos on that. They'll just be made the same way, and what I'll do is I'll scale down my drawing. So I'm thinking it's easy to scale it in half. So these are 3-inch clamps. If I scale it in half, it'll make 1.5-inch clamps. I have 4 2-inch clamps that I purchased. So those work quite well. So I'm not interested in making any more 2-inch clamps. So, you know, with that, let's get started. And this video will be like the last one. It's probably going to be really short, and I'll probably be making it in a few segments. So with that, let's get started today and get this done. Okay, let's see here. Let's zoom out a little bit here. So we're still in the process of making the standoffs, but the plates, as I told you, I cut those out yesterday via CNC. So I'm just making the standoffs. I think I've got them all sort of roughed out. So now all I have to do is cut the shoulder. So I've cut the shoulder on these 3, and I got one more to go, one more standoff to go. And then I have to cut the shoulders on the 2 standoffs to get the threaded rod. So we're cruising along here. We've been about a half hour or so doing that. So this thing is not going to take very long. Should be, you know, should be together pretty quick. This still might be a little tricky, this one in here, but theoretically I've got it right. So last time I had to take an extra 10 thousandths off of it to just make sure that we didn't get this joint too tight, so it worked. But other than that, it's going along just fine. So I'm gonna piece these. I made a few shots during the process. I'm just gonna fast forward them, and they'll be in the video. Okay. So we'll get ready, and we'll get these next 3 things taken care of, and then do one more segment. And then after that, maybe we'll show some work on some of the jaws and the handle portion that we didn't show last time. So okay. I'll be back. Okay, this is going to be one of the pins for the jaw that holds the jaw in, okay? And this, I cut this is a quarter inch hole through the jaw. And the way I do this is I cut a piece of 5/16 material down to a quarter of an inch, just for a little short distance on the tip. And then you know, I bevel off the tip, bevel off the edge, and cut a little groove for the retaining clip, the snap ring. Then after that, I proceed to cut the rest of this down to a quarter of an inch and part it off. So I found that's the best way to do it. And I leave about a 1/16 of an inch here for a shoulder. So and then I'll go over to the belt sander and feather this off and fix it. So let me see here. Let me. So here's the clamp, and this is the this is for the wide jaw. It's for this jaw here. So, well, like, so that just goes through there like that, and it's the snap ring goes on here. And another reason I do it this way is that I can determine, I can measure the distance from the snap ring to the shoulder by just measuring the outside plates, between the two plates. Then I can dial in that distance on the lathe so I can get it exactly right. So the snap ring fits nice and snug up against the clamp plate. So that takes care of one of the pins that goes through the large size. So now I'm going to make the pin to go through the small size. I'm not going to show that on camera, but I just wanted to show you how that was done. So with that, I'll conclude this little segment, and we'll come back again with another segment when we start to make this handle. And what I've decided to do on the handle is do it pretty much like I did last time, except for make the main piece that threads on a little bit longer, and I'll pin it. I'm going to pin it to the shaft. And I'm going to make the handle a little bit enlarged on each end, so what happens is it'll slide back and forth through the main piece that threads onto the shaft, threaded rod. So anyway, I'll be back with that little portion, and that'll conclude the video. So I'm going to shut the camera off, and I'll be back. Okay, so we're getting down to the end of this. I think this video is getting way too long. So this, I'm going to call this a wrap. We've got another clamp. Came out quite nice. I don't see any problems with it. Got to get the jaws to come together evenly. Pretty good. So there, I got an end to it. So what I'm going to do is very simple. I'm just going to drill a hole through here, put a handle in there, and I'm going to, this threaded rod goes in here 3/8 of an inch. So I've got plenty of room to put a drive pin through there, and that'll lock it up very good. So no problem. So let's see here. where is the other clamp? I don't know where it is, where it got off to here. Hang on a minute, let's see. Okay, so you can see we've got two clamps here. They're both identical. Well, I mean, they're almost identical. One's opened, so so there we go. So there's the two clamps, and should work quite nice. I may redo the end of this one. We'll see how this one comes out. If I like it better, I may redo this. But it's a simple deal. A few minutes to redo that if I want to redo it, or I may just leave it like that for right now. But anyway, I've got a pair of 3-inch clamps now, and I got 4 2-inch clamps. So that'll conclude this video. This will be the last segment. So we'll make it a wrap, and I think we're going to be right around 30 minutes long. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.